Hello.
Hey Arundhati, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Going on. How's things? How long you been?
Yeah, things have been great. I think it's been last we met in that CSP session, remember?
Exactly. Yeah, I remember. So since then, I think you were supposed to travel, and then you're there
Yeah.
since then in US. Oh, okay.
Yes, mostly in US. I was in Bangalore for like 2, 3 months back in March when all that COVID lockdown happened. I was there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, when did you come back then? How did you manage?
I managed like one of those Vande Bharat flights sometime in May or something, and then I came back here. So from
Oh my
May,
God.
mid-May, I've been here. Yeah.
It was could have been. Oh my God. Oh, okay. Good. We're seeing people joining in. Hey guys, we'll start in another maybe 2 to 3 minutes. Um, you know, so we're just catching up because Arundhati and myself, we know each other. So, right. I think I have 20 to 25 people, so probably fairly we can get started with expectations. Okay. So, folks, I think you know it's an hour session, and about 45 minutes talk will be there, and then rest of the 15 minutes for the question and answers, and and then setting up the context initially. So maybe I'll give a quick intro of Arundhati in a minute. People are joining, so we still have another 5 to 6 minutes to actually get started. So let's give 2 to 3 minutes. We'll start maybe 8:20. Arundhati can start. All right.
Sure. I'm just trying to figure out the screen share, and it seems like it doesn't let me choose which screen. So do you know if that's a Chrome browser thing or what browser I need to be using for this?
The safe is you choose entire screen. So when you unclick on that, the screen thingy, then if you choose entire screen, then you can pick and choose whichever the window you want to share. So I was seeing your screen share actually earlier.
Okay, I got it. I see what you're saying. So let me try that 1 second. I'm going to share the screen and then I will choose the window.
Yep, it's coming up. Awesome. I see.
Hold on. But when I do that, I don't actually see this screen. So I'm just going to put it here.
We are able to see that.
Okay,
What does?
got it. So,
All right.
yes. Okay, it makes sense now. So I'm going to bring it here. Okay, I think I figured out how to do it.
All right, so we have 56 people. That's a stunning crowd to get started. All right, hey, thanks Arundhati for joining. I think it must be early. So, hey, Arundhati is in US and she leads Women in Agile San Francisco chapter, and she's a passionate about Agile, and then she's also passionate about building Agile community around the world. And she's also has experience of founding a startup and then using these Agile tools and means and techniques. So she's quite hands-on. And she also played role of Agile coach, product owner, and development team member, and also have management consulting experience too. So thanks, Arundhati, to have you. And then her topic is Agile coaches as engagers. So I'm sure it's going to be a lot of insightful session going to be. So over to you, Arundhati. And
Thank
in
you.
middle, there will be polls. So please go ahead and rate the session. And if there is any questions from you guys, please type in the chat window. I'll collect them, and then towards end of the session, 10 minutes, we'll go through the question. All right. Thank you. I'm going on mute now.
Awesome. Thank you, Bhopal. Thank you for the really kind introduction. I'm Arundhati, and I'm based out of San Francisco. So it's morning for me. It's about 7:47 a.m. And it's a bright day, as you can see behind me. So I am absolutely thrilled to be joining all of you today, and very excited about our topic, which is Agile coaches as engagers. So let's go ahead and get started. I will now start sharing my screen. So give me 1 second because I have like so many screens and monitors here. All right, so I will share my screen here. And this is going to be a sort of interactive session. So we will have like Mentiometer polls, and we will do a little bit of Mural brainstorming. For those of you who are not familiar with Mural, you'll figure out it's a pretty nice tool to have for your virtual facilitation. So I am going to play this presentation, and then, okay, so I think this is what I need to do. So I use Safari and Chrome, but for some reason it's not working out. So I'm going to I will share screen now, and then I will start this presentation here.
Yeah, so people can double click on the 3 windows, whatever they're seeing, and they can, here you go.
Okay. Are you able to see a full screen of the presentation, or do you see the presenter mode?
Presenter mode.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I'm going to, I'm sorry. So I know you can see this screen.
Yeah. That is the presenter mode.
Okay, so and I minimize this. So now you see my desktop, and then I am going to present here, play from this current slide. Yeah, the problem is, swap displays. Perfect. Okay, now are you able to see the full screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not the presenter mode. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and get started. I am super excited to be talking about this topic. I think this this topic is very interesting, and as we go through this, you realize that there can be a really, if you start thinking of yourself as an engager, there's some really interesting things that can happen in your teams. And we will discuss that. So first, even before we get started, I want to think about what does engagement even mean? So when I say Agile coaches as engagers, or when I say I'm referring to something called employee engagement. There are various ways of saying this. A lot of times companies will say, we want our teams to be very involved, passionate, but I'm referring to employee engagement. So I want to ask you, what does engagement mean to you? So type in your, inside of your chat box, and just a couple of words that come to your mind when you think of employee engagement. What does that look like? So it seems in order for me to see that, what you've typed, I actually have to go
I can
and see this
maybe
page.
help you. So sharing the information
Yeah.
with them, keep everyone involved in decision making, inclusiveness, 100% contribution, involved, empathy. There's so many.
Yeah. Perfect. That's exactly what we're talking about.
All right.
Yes, that's correct. Excellent. So, and that's what we're talking about. That's what we're going to try to bring into our teams. So a lot of times what happens is Agile coaches, they get very bogged down in the processes of the work. So they're thinking, oh, I'm here to implement Scrum, or I'm here to implement SAFe, or Scrum at Scale, or whatever framework you're following. And they kind of forget that the role of an Agile coach is also to create that kind of team environment where everyone feels excited about coming to work, everyone is passionate, everybody is involved, and they feel excited and committed to the work. So how do we then, as Agile coaches, start to think of our role as engagers? And that's what we're going to spend time today talking more about, and thinking of what are some of those strategies, these techniques, and ideas that we can bring into our teams to create more engaged teams. So let's look at one definition, and a lot of the points that you shared, inclusiveness and all of those things are correct, empathy. We will look at what Gallup defines employee engagement as, and this is one definition. So Gallup says that engaged employees are those that are involved in, they're enthusiastic about, and they're committed to their work and their workplace. So really, this is about, how we as Agile coaches can create that environment then where people are excited. They're excited about coming to work. And, on the surface, this might sound easy, like, okay, why is this so hard? But it's really, really hard because you cannot just go and tell your team members, hey, team members, from tomorrow we are going to have empathy, we're going to be inclusive, we are going to be enthusiastic about work. You can't really just go and say that to your team members, right? You have to create that environment where this becomes a reality. So that's why it's really hard. How do you, as an Agile coach, create that kind of an inclusive environment where everyone feels enthusiastic and involved in the work that you're doing? So let's understand first, even before we go forward and we look at how to build on engagement inside of our teams, I want to stop for a second and talk about why is employee engagement so important? Why is it important to have people who are excited, who are committed, who are emotionally involved with the work, who feel like their contributions are heard, they're passionate? Why is it important to have these things in our teams? So I have a Mentiometer poll for us to think through a little bit about possible answers. So this is the poll. So take a second to go to menti.com. So if you go to menti.com and put this number, 9932149, you will be able to type in your answers to why employee engagement is important, and then we can look at it together. So I will end the presentation so that I can go to our Mentee poll and take a look at what all of you are sharing. So let me end this presentation. Let me go to, and if you have difficulty going to Mentiometer, you can put that in the chat and we'll figure out why. I see some answers coming in, so. Beautiful. So hopefully you can share my screen. You see my screen, right? Wonderful. Better results, yes. Productivity, yes. To keep employees motivated and satisfied. To achieve the common goal, yes. Happy teams will bring productivity, quality output. Yes, new hiring is super, super expensive, and we will look at that. Training new members that come to your teams, super expensive. I love the participation. I see so many of you are writing your thoughts. So I'll give us one more minute so that you can take your time and put your thoughts in. Wonderful. So many ideas. That's what I love about, workshops where we all come together to share our thoughts. Because look what we're creating together. So many ideas here. This is wonderful. And I'm going to try to find a way to put all this in a document and send it out to you so that you have all of this with you after the session. Great. So I see 60 people participating right now. This is amazing. Wonderful. And so many different ideas. Team bonding, fast delivery, creating a safe environment, helping them stay focused and productive. Wonderful. Yes. All of this, exactly. So now you can see how very important it is to have engaged teams. And sadly, a lot of times I've spoken to folks, they were, a lot of the companies and startups I consulted to, I noticed that the Agile coaches there were so involved in, so heads down in the process that they would then forget that their role is also to keep the team members engaged, to create that sense of ownership and excitement around, around the work that they're doing. All right, wonderful. So we can stop the poll and let's move on. This was wonderful. Thank you for your participation. And like I said, I will try to put this in one document and send it out to you so that you have all of this. So excellent. So let us go back then to our presentation. So I will minimize this and I will start to share this again. So everything that you said, that's all correct. Here are some, a few data points that will help you see how important and big an issue this is, how important the issue of employee engagement is in not just, country, in companies in one particular location, but it's actually a super important topic around the world in countries around the world. So let's look at some data points. So this is from an ADP study of 19,000 people. This was done around end of 2018 and they released the report in 2019. So I have links to all of these sources at the end of the presentation. And if you stay till the end, I will show you how you can download all of these slides. So this is the ADP data. It said that just 22% of, when they studied the Indian subcontinent, 22% of those they surveyed were engaged. That means others were just not interested in the work they were doing. They were coming to work, but they were not passionate, they were not excited, they were not interested in the work. And that's really sad because when you have members who are not really having fun, enjoying the work, then you're losing so much because all of us bring so much potential to the table. So if you're losing out because your team members are not engaged at all, they're checked out, they don't have energy, they just come to work because they have to come to work, then you're leaving out huge opportunities. So that's why this is such an important topic. Here's another data point, $600 billion, USD 600 billion is the cost of disengaged employees worldwide. And this goes back to some of the points that some of you were sharing that, there's a cost of hiring team members and then training them and helping them get up to speed. So all of those things matter and it costs companies a lot of money. Sometimes it's hard to find teams that those skills on the team, and for specialized skills, it can take sometimes 6 months for a company to replace a particular person who left the team. So there is a huge cost associated with it. There's also this whole issue of workplace stress. So apparently 31% of workplace stress comes from just team members like you and I, like people issues, not the work, not that it's, oh, this is really hard for me, I don't know how to do this work. It's not stress from that. It's just stress from a team member that, hey, so-and-so disrespects me all the time, or they don't let me talk. If I say something, somebody just shuts me down, or my ideas are not important. So these kind of people issues in the team lead to 31% of the cases is the people issues that cause stress. And finally, this whole concept of long hours. So a lot of times some teams, and I've certainly seen a lot of teams do this, where they feel like long hours equals to more work, therefore equals more productivity. But the truth is, and there is a lot of research on this, and Jeffrey Pfeffer, who is a professor at Stanford University here in California, has done a lot of work on this. He has a book on this called Dying for a Paycheck, where he shows a lot of data which demonstrate that working very long hours actually reduces our productivity. So we want to work sustainably. We want to work normal business hours, but we want to be passionate and excited when we come to work so that we can give our best. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to work 18 hours a day every single day, because then we are just not as productive. So this is just some data. And then everything, all the ideas that you shared were all correct and wonderful. And those are all reasons why we need engagement in our team. So now you're hopefully starting to see how important it is for you as an Agile coach to always think, how can I have more engagement in my team? So with that, I want to ask us another question, which is, I'm sure many of you most of you have been on some team at some point in life where you didn't feel engaged, where you felt not so excited to come to work. Maybe you left the job because of that. Or maybe you continued, but you just were not engaged. So I want you to think about that a little bit and share what was it that made that situation like that? So was it maybe there was a disrespectful team member? Maybe it was, you felt like your ideas were never heard. Maybe there's a really bossy manager, or maybe there was a very command and control Scrum Master who said they were Scrum Masters, but actually like trying to control the team all the time, or maybe that's the case with the product owner. So I have a Mentiometer poll. So hold your thought for a second. Let me just stop this presentation and I will load that poll, and I would love for you to share what in the past made you feel less engaged. So let me go ahead and start that poll first. So I will go ahead and go to that Mentiometer and activate this poll. And now if you go to if you type in 9932149, you will be able to see this poll. So think a little bit about what made you less engaged. And again, for those of you who want to see my screen bigger, you can always just click on my screen and then it'll become much bigger on your screen. Wonderful. I see a lot of participation. Yeah. Blame game, not feeling heard, team members not putting in their best. Bossy, yep, bossy senior manager. Wow, disrespected me and my ideas. Wow, scolding at the top of his voice. Wow, that surely sounds like a stressful situation to be in. Yeah, partiality, yes. When you know managers have favorites, that's terrible. When you just know that some managers have favorites, and it's a terrible feeling to know that, I'm not part of that, whatever favorite group that is there. I see a lot of participation, 35, 36 of you are participating. Wonderful. Come in and participate, because this is how we make our workshops so much more richer with all these different ideas from everyone. Work overload, yep. Lack of respect, not involved. Demotivating managers, disrespectful boss, nobody speaks up. Yes, absolutely. Partiality, I see that a lot, yeah. Wow, fingerprint check-in and check-out. Yes, I really think companies need to move away from that. And COVID has shown us that that's certainly possible. We're working from home, right? So there is no longer the fingerprint check-in and check-out. So really, companies have to start thinking of team members as valuable contributors, and not just how some companies call them resources. We have to be able to move away from that and think of our team members as just valuable contributors. Wonderful. So nice to see all of these different ideas. Great. Yeah. So what we're doing here is we're looking at these anti-patterns of engagement. So what in your teams will reduce engagement? So this is a great, these are great things to keep in mind for you as an Agile coach, because in your teams, this is exactly what you don't want to do, right? You know that this is what makes people feel less engaged. So these are exactly the anti-patterns that you want to avoid as Agile coaches in your teams. So you want to always make sure that you're not micromanaging team members, that you're helping them feel heard, that you're not partial. And I have seen this so many times where Agile coaches say they're, oh, team, we're all one team, but everyone knows that that Agile coach has some favorites. And that's just a really ugly feeling to have when you are at the receiving end. So really just making sure we don't play favorites as Agile coaches. So wonderful, excellent ideas. So let me share a couple thoughts here. So I will produce this and share my slide again. So everything that you said, those were all the anti-patterns for engagement in our teams. One other thing I want to talk about is when we have low engagement, typically we have high stress in the team. And that's a pretty terrible thing if you have too much high stress in your teams, because what happens is, and this is data from a ComPsych survey that they did. So ComPsych is one of United States' largest EAP programs, or employee assistance programs. And every year they send out a survey to thousands and thousands of people to understand the factors that that reduce productivity in teams. And they came up with this data, and this is really, really interesting and eye-opening, because if you notice here, it says the impact of stress on daily productivity is that 42% of the people they surveyed were losing 15 to 30 minutes a day in productivity just because of stress. They couldn't function. Like, they would come to work and they were not able to function because the manager just shouted at them at the top of their voice, or a team member was just disrespectful. And 35%, so 35% here, were losing 1 hour or more per day. So if you have an 8 or 9 hour day, you lost 1 hour just because of stress. So if you have a team of 10, I mean, I know Scrum says that we shouldn't have teams larger than 9, but if you assume we have a team of 10, then if we add 42 to 35, that's about like a 77% of your team members are actually suffering from stress and losing time in their day because of stress. So if you say they lost anywhere between half an hour to 1 hour, you're actually losing 8 hours a day from stress. Think about it. That's like one extra team member on your team that's invisible because you've lost so much time from stress. So it's really, really, these are things that have an immediate bottom line impact to companies, because when people are less productive because of all the stress, they're just not able to contribute as much as they would have liked to. So just something to remember. So I always, I want to invite you to think what would happen, what possibilities you could unlock if you worked hard every day to create an engaged team. What kind of magical products would your team come up with? What kind of bonding would it create? So I invite you to think about those possibilities. And also I invite you to think about how you can constantly keep that hat of Agile coaches as engagers in your head somewhere. How can you always keep thinking about engaging your team members? So with that said, let's look then at ways in which we can maximize engagement, and we will brainstorm together on this and come up with ideas on what we can do. So if we're talking about maximizing engagement, first I want to talk to you about just a couple of theories around motivation and what motivates us as human beings. And then we will go and work on this very interesting brainstorm together in Mural. So the first one I want to talk about is comes from Gallup. So Gallup is, again, it's a human capital consulting company that's been around for a while. They have done a lot of work around understanding employee engagement in companies, understanding what creates motivated team members and companies around the world. So one of the things they have increasingly noticed is a shift in what motivates us. So they've started to see that it's no longer a paycheck so much. Of course, paycheck is very important. We have to pay our bills, meet our expenses, support our family. So we definitely need stable income and a good income. But beyond a certain point, it's not just paycheck. So if two companies offer the same paycheck, they found that employees will select the company where they feel a sense of purpose. So that feeling, that sense of purpose is super important. They also realized that they discovered that people want growth. So we want to grow as team members. For you, that means as Agile coaches, that means how can you help your team members have more growth opportunities? Maybe there's some kind of learning opportunity that you can figure out. Can you do lunch and learns together? Can you set aside some time every Friday to talk a little bit about what team members want to learn next, and then help them find those resources? Like, how can you help team members feel a sense of growth? And again, Scrum talks about cross-functional teams, and Scrum talks about, in Agile, we talk about the T-shaped teams, which is great. So you want to always look to see how you can bring growth for your team members. And also coaching versus telling. In Agile coaching, you learn a lot about the art of coaching, right? And this conference has had some wonderful sessions on that. There was one right before this. So it's about the art of coaching, not telling. Nobody wants to be micromanaged and told what to do. They want to be given guidance. So if they come to you with a problem, they want to hear from you how you might have handled it, but they don't want to be told what to do. So these are just some shifts that we have seen in how what motivates people. And the other one, and this is a really interesting one, I highly recommend you check out this book called Drive by Dan Pink. He mentions this particular study. This is actually a very famous study that took place in MIT in the US. And what they did was they tried to understand what motivates people. Is it just money? So they did this experiment where they gave people a little bit of money for easy tasks. They gave a little bit more money for a little bit harder tasks, and they gave a lot of money for much harder tasks. And then they thought, okay, so if money is the only motivator, then people are supposed to work really, really hard for these hard tasks, right? And interestingly, they found that money was negatively correlated with the hard tasks. So what that meant was, when they dig deeper into the research, what they found was that when it comes to knowledge work, people are actually not very motivated by money beyond a certain point. Now, money, again, is important, but if you pay a certain salary where people are comfortable and money is no longer a problem for them, they're not constantly thinking about how am I going to pay my rent, how am I going to pay for expenses? They're not thinking about that. So you've solved the money problem for them. The next thing they want is these three things: purpose, mastery, and autonomy. So they want to feel a sense of purpose. They want opportunities for growth, and they want a sense of autonomy where they're not micromanaged, where they are able to work autonomously. So these are the three pillars of what drives people. And this is a really interesting study. The book has much more about these sorts of things. I highly recommend it. Dan Pink actually was a keynote speaker at one of the global Scrum gatherings. I think it was Austin, Texas last year. But yes, you can Google it. You can Google Purpose, Mastery, Autonomy and see some videos on it. It's a very interesting study. But really, these are the pillars. So I want you to think again, as an Agile coach, think about how you can bring these into your teams, how you can help people feel like they are autonomous, and that they have opportunity for mastering their craft, and that they feel a sense of purpose. So with that said, I am going to, now we will move into a fun activity where we brainstorm together on what are some of those things that we can do in our teams to build that kind of engagement. So I want to show you what is a very interesting study. So here you go. So let me tell you what this means. So Gallup, again, spent a lot of time and many, many years really trying to understand what are those things that will help team members feel more engaged. And they, through all of the research they did, they sent out thousands of surveys around the world. They came up with these 12 metrics, which they feel that if we can address these in teams, then we will see more engagement. So let's look at a few of them, and then we are going to all actually brainstorm on this together. So let's look at, for example, question number 1. I know what is expected of me at work, which means that there is some clarity on the role. Sometimes I've seen that team members are pulled into different teams when the work comes, so they go to different teams. So they don't have stable teams. They're assigned to project 1. 2 months later, they're assigned to project 2. Sometimes they're assigned to project 3 while both are going on, and they don't have a sense of what is even expected from them. So that's one of the things that can take away from people feeling engaged. The other one is I have the materials and equipment I need to do my work right. And this means not just material, like not just a laptop. These days, you'll notice the companies are going out of their way to give their team members the tools like maybe software licenses. Like when COVID happened, a lot of teams bought like Miro.com licenses or Mural licenses or Jamboard licenses or all sorts of like these remote collaboration tools so team members can feel more connected and work together more collaboratively. So are your team members able to get the tools that they need to do their work? Let's take one more. So question 6, for example. There is someone at work who encourages my development. So when team members feel like their team is rooting for them, they feel encouraged, they feel appreciated, they feel that somebody's there to care for them, then they are going to feel more engaged. So then the question for you is how can you as an Agile coach create that culture in your team so that everyone is feeling encouraged in their work and development? I have one, let's look at one more. So question 7, for example, at work, my opinions seem to count. And this one is very important because sometimes you have the quiet people on your teams, right? They don't say much. And then sometimes when they start to say something, maybe a loud person just kind of says, okay, yeah, whatever. And then their voice doesn't get heard. So your job as an Agile coach is to see how can you make everybody's voice heard? How do you make sure everyone feels heard, that their opinions are counted? All right, great. So these are some. So there are 12. So what I would really love for us to do is for us to brainstorm together on this, because I'm a huge believer in the collective wisdom of teams. So when we all get together, instead of me just talking, if we all get together and share ideas, we're going to have a much, much richer idea list that we can then take to work on Monday. And I'm actually going to, we'll use a tool called Mural. So let me share that link with you. So I am going to pull this up. So let me start. I'm going to share this inside the chat panel. Let me see if I have the link here in the notes. Okay, so this is the Mural link. If you click on this, you will be able to join Mural. All right. And once you click and join, you don't have to sign up. You can just join as a visitor. So what I would like to do, and let me share my screen with you here. This is the exciting part because, okay, so I see a lot of people are joining. So here's what we're going to do. So if you could see my screen, let me show you for those of you who are very new to Mural and have not seen it. what we're going to do. So this is a collaboration board. So what we're going to do, and you can just a couple of handy buttons for those of you who are not familiar with this, is you can zoom in like this to see more closely. And then you can, so you see the lower right button here, you can zoom in and out. So if I want to make it bigger, I can just zoom in a little bit. So what we're going to try to do is I have all these Post-its here, and we're going to start to look at each point here and see if we can come up with just one or two ideas that you can do in your teams to address this. So for example, question 4 says, in the last 7 days, I have received recognition or praise for doing work. So maybe you can have an appreciation board. Maybe you can help people feel recognized by every Friday having the team name one person they nominate for this week's champion. So little ways to help people feel more heard. So if you write your points, so this is, if you just double click inside of the Post-it, you can start typing. So if I make this a little bit bigger, for example, you can see my screen. So you can move these, and you can always move a Post-it out like this. So just grab, double click any one Post-it and just start typing inside any one idea. Like appreciation board, appreciation board. And you don't have to, write points for everything. Just find a couple of things that you have ideas for and start writing those in. And I am going to, Muriel has this cool thing where I can actually PDF this and send it to you. So I encourage all of you to participate, because we're going to then co-create this beautiful thing that you can take to your work and you can start implementing these ideas. And because we are brainstorming together, the more people we have brainstorming, the more ideas there will be. So it'll be a wonderful resource for you to keep. So you can just double click a Post-it and you can start typing your idea. Try to put a timer. So we can say maybe 5 minutes. Gopal, how are we doing on time?
Yep. So we have another 7 minutes.
Okay, fine. So I am going to then give us about 4 minutes. Let's see. Okay, it says 4 minutes 48. Time went by really fast. Okay.
True.
So we'll give it. I see so many ideas. This is so wonderful. Great. I see a lot of good ideas. We'll give it 2 minutes. And then I will show you how you can get a copy of all of these slides before we wrap up. So wonderful, so many ideas. This is awesome. Keep a learning board. Yeah. Have personalization and warmth. Yes, absolutely. Have trust. Keep an impediment board. Absolutely. Encouraging teams to not shy off from failures. Yes. Oh, sorry. It seems like some of you were having trouble with Mural. Recognition boards. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So in the interest of time, we'll stop in 30 more seconds. All right. We will start to wrap up, and yeah, I see so many amazing ideas. Kudos to each other. Yes, absolutely. There are actually entire companies these days that help you give kudos to your team members through through like a Slack bot or something like that. There are like entire softwares around that. So yeah, absolutely. Understand the team's, what is that, intentions. Yep. And like we say as Agile coaches, always assume positive intent, right? Always assume that your team members mean well. All right, wonderful. This is amazing. Look at our collective wisdom. We've created so many great ideas here together. So wonderful. So in the interest of time, let's stop here. So I will, I will stop the timer. And there's actually, do I have that here? There's actually a celebrate button on Mural. Look what it does. All right, awesome. So like I said, I will create a PDF of this and share it with you so that you have all of these ideas to take to work and you can apply it. So, so wonderful, wonderful ideas. Let me just share the screen one more time and we are ready to wrap up. So, Popal, tell me again, how many more minutes do we have? Okay. So
2 minutes, but it's okay. Maybe another 5 minutes. That's fine.
okay.
People are enjoying, so that's fine.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're almost done. So let's wrap up. What did we cover? So we covered a lot together, actually. So we understood what is employee engagement and why. Why should this even matter to you as an Agile coach? And you came up with lots and lots of ideas on Mentimeter around why that is important. We discussed some anti-patterns because that's really important to understand for you as well, right? All the points that you shared on Mentimeter about things that have helped, that made you feel less engaged, those are things that you should not be doing in your teams, right? As Agile coaches. So if you ever felt micromanaged, you know that we shouldn't micromanage people. So we discussed all those anti-patterns and how you can now use them in your teams to make sure you're not doing those things that made you feel less engaged in a previous job or a previous team. And then we reviewed research on what motivates us. We talked about Dan Pink's model, we research and drive, and we also talked about the Gallup's research, what they found. And then we talked about the 12 pointers to increasing engagement from Gallup, and we all brainstormed together in Mural. So, so fantastic work from all of you. This was excellent, a lot of engagement. And I'm really excited that we were able to crowdsource so many ideas because now when I create a PDF of it and share that with you, you'll be able to take this to your work and start applying them every day. So I want to just leave you with one last thought, that always think of the possibilities that will open up for your teams when you have that hat on of being an Agile coach who is an engager. So I would encourage you to adopt that stance in your work and always think of how you can build more engagement in your team. So I want to thank you for participating in all of your energy today and all of your participation. If you want the slides, like I said, here they are. So this is what you need to do. So I am an Agile practitioner, right? So I always want feedback on how we can make this even better. So I have a 30-second feedback form that you can go and fill out. And if you go to this link or this QR code, you will be able to fill out the Google form. And at the end of it, you will be able to download the slides. I also have your email. You also need to enter your email address so that I can PDF the mural that we created today, and I will mail it out to all of you. So you can go to this link right now, and if there's a way to upload all my slides onto this conference, I will also be doing that. But if you want it right now, you can just go to this link and fill it out. Right? So I hope that was helpful.
Awesome.
And that brings me to the end of our presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
There are some questions, so I have collated them. So let's get into Q&A mode. So a couple of guys like Hina and Shiva asked like similar questions. So can you share some engagement techniques in pandemic scenario? Rather, how different ways to engage teams. So
yes, absolutely. So somebody asked for the link to the slides. I've just pasted it here. Somebody says feedback link is. Let me do a double check and make sure that it's working for me. Can you just double check? Because when I click on that link, it works for me. So can you just try one more time? Yeah, working now. Okay, great.
yeah, it
yes.
works for me
So
too.
engagement techniques. Okay, perfect. Wonderful. So yes, engagement techniques, right? So much has changed in COVID. Everything's so different now. So one of the things, so lots of different ways that you can build engagement. I encourage you to think from first principles, which means always going to the core and thinking, ultimately, what do we want? We want our team members to feel more connected. We want them to have a sense of a connection, a bonding. We want them to feel that we are here for each other as one team. So how can you create those things um, um, online? So you can do that when you collaborate together, maybe on a tool like Mural or Miro. You can set up some time every Friday. And I know a lot of companies and teams are doing this where every Friday they kind of eat together, or maybe they'll have a snack together in the evening, or they'll have like tea or coffee together. So they'll set up some time at 3:30 in the afternoon, and they'll say, we'll all bring our coffee together and we'll just chat. There's no work. We'll just get together and just talk and feel more connected. So different ways in which you can help team members feel more connected with each other in this pandemic time. And also just being more, having more empathy, right? Because this is just such a hard time, and so many family members have actually lost family members from COVID, and there's so much stress and working in close quarters with all your family members. Your kids are at home, they're learning, they're doing school at home, and there's housework, and there's like just so much happening. So just having more empathy and slowing down a little bit and not pushing people. So just those little things to keep it human in your teams,
Okay, thanks. That's great, great. Another question is what to do when employee looks engaged but not productive?
Yeah. So excellent question. If you notice they're engaged but they're not as productive, you can think of what could be an issue. Is it kind of like maybe they don't have the skills? Maybe they need a little bit more help. Maybe this particular programming language or whatever they're working on, they're not strong in that. So maybe they need some help, and that's where you as an Agile coach can come in and try to have that conversation with them that what is there anything that I can do to help you get even better? And this is a conversation that should be ongoing with your teams. You can do this in their retrospectives or even in your one-on-one coaching where you say the team members like, hey team, like what is it that I can do to help you get even better? And if you created the trusting environment, the team member might tell you that, I'm really struggling with this new software or this language, or I feel like I'm not doing as well. So what do you recommend? And then you can suggest things. You can help them build that skill. Maybe you can help them pair with somebody who's better at that, and then they can get better that way. So just think of ways that how can you help them improve their, if it's a skill gap. And if it's not, if it's something else, then again, that's your role as an Agile coach to really just have those open conversations and try to see, is there anything that is holding them back? Maybe it's a personal problem at home. So just having that open mindset, and like I was saying, always just assuming positive intent, like assuming that we all want to do well. Maybe there's something in the way that's not letting us do as well as we want to.
Great, thanks. Maybe another question. That's the last one. People issues are never ending. Is it possible to meet all the expectation from each person perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's not always possible to meet the expectations of every team member. But if you create that environment where you've collectively worked together, you've made a lot of the decisions together, and you work as one team, team members will realize that you want to create that environment where all their needs are met. And sometimes they'll realize that everyone's needs cannot be met. And that's okay. But if you created that environment where people feel connected and they feel like they feel heard, and they feel their opinions are heard, then they are much more likely to say that, okay, no problem. I mean, I realized this, I wanted this to be this way, but it didn't happen, but that's okay. I get it. So it's more important to focus on building those relationships and helping team members feel more connected and create a collaborative environment so that even when things don't go the way they wanted, they're okay. They understand.
True. That's thanks. And I think I see a question coming in now, just now. When I try to make testers part of the Scrum team, they don't get enough bugs to report on their name, which they used to do in the past and were proud of the numbers. How can I keep them motivated? All right, that's a
Sure. How do you? Yeah. So so I would just try to understand the core problem here. So maybe you have a talk with them. Maybe you ask them, why is it? And have a conversation with them. Maybe there's some issue that you don't know about. Why are they lacking that motivation? So have that conversation with them. And that's where our coaching skills come in, right? How to have those open-ended conversations and ask those powerful questions without putting people on the spot or without making them feel more defensive. Just have that open conversation that what can I do to help you? I notice, you can even say that I notice we're not putting enough bugs on the report. So what is going on? Is there anything I can do to help you? And maybe you'll uncover the real reasons here, which you can then address as their Scrum Master or Agile coach.
True. All right, we are spot on. And, thank you so much, Arundhati. It was a really, really hands-on session. It was a virtual, but people felt like it's a real session. So it was so engaged. And you can see later on the chart. So thank you so much. Informative, hands-on, and people, I think there are 124, 25 people joined. No, thank you so much for your time. It was a great talk, such an engaging talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gopal. And so nice to see you after a long time. And just so happy to be here today with everyone. I could not see the chats while the session was going on because of my screen problems, but very grateful to all of you for coming and staying. And I hope you go and download the slides. And I will also load the PDF in that same folder. So if you check in by tomorrow, I will load the mural PDF that we created there. So you have all of this ready when you go to work on Monday. So thank you so much again. Thank you to all of you. Thanks again.
Bye, guys. Have good evening, good night, and good morning, and good rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Signing off now.